Hey guys, Mike with Midwest Adventure Life, and today we're on the Chain of Lakes, and we are going to give you a quick run through about maybe where to launch, what to see, what bridges to expect, and just kind of some tips and suggestions if you've never been on the chain before. Certainly this won't be all inclusive, but we figured at least kind of give you some kind of idea of what to expect if you're a first timer. So right now, if you look to our south, that is the locks. So right there, those gates, that is where you would enter to go into the locks, and that would be the lower river. So anything from this dam system right here, and I'm going to show you where it stops, north to the lakes is considered the upper river. Some people confuse the upper river with the area north of Blarney Island, but the area here from McHenry, Stratton Lock and Dam up to Johnsburg area by land is considered the upper river. So we're going to take a quick ride upriver and we're going to show you what to expect. So the next stop is going to be the no wake zone, downtown McHenry. First bridge we're going to cross here is the Charles Miller Bridge. So we'll talk about that one in a second. Okay, so this is the first bridge you would cross coming up the upper river as we head north. This is Charles Miller Road, and again, most of all these bridges we're going to talk about are not limiting to most boats on the water here. So there are a few that are going to limit your height. This is not one. If this limits your height, you're on the wrong waterway. But one thing I do want to point out, just north of this bridge is one of the first boat launches that I would highly suggest. This boat launch is the furthest south boat launch you can get on the upper river, unless there's others that may be in neighborhoods. But as far as a public launch, this is as furthest south as you can go, and this one is off Charles Miller Road. So right here on your left, on the west side of the river, that is the Charles Miller boat launch. There's two launches there. It's a $25 at the time of this video. It's a $25 launch unless you have a season pass. There is a long stretch to back up. If you are not good at backing a trailer, may not be the launch for you, but it is nice. It's generally not very crowded if you hit it at the right times, so I highly suggest that launch. Now as we move forward on the river, we're going to come up to the next no wake area, and we'll talk about what to expect there. So we've got a restaurant up on our right called the Snuggery. Again, these restaurants change, I think, depending on the way the wind blows directions. So this may not be accurate depending on when you watch the video, but great restaurant to eat at. One downside is it's not in a no-wake zone, so have plenty of dock lines and bumpers available. We'll show that as we pass into our next no-wake zone. So this restaurant on the east side of the river as we're coming north, it's called the Snuggery. Again, great food, great views. But this is not a no-wake zone, so have your boat tied up well and be prepared for some dock damage if you don't have the right equipment. So this is your first no-wake zone as you head north. We're going to cross the bridge up there is Route 120. That would take you right through downtown McHenry. This no-wake zone is about, depending on your speed, I would say 10 minutes long. Again, this bridge is not going to be an issue for any boat clearance, but there are some great things you'd want to stop and see on this no-wake zone. So if you look here on the west side, we've got Miller Point, and McHenry has done a fabulous job of inviting the boating community to the downtown McHenry. So you'll see this blue shelter on the left a little bit. We'll come up to it in a second. So if you look down that channel, you'll see that little bridge there, and you'll see that blue rooftop. So down the channel, there are multiple restaurants that you can dock at. It's all no wake in here, very easy to dock. If you've got a large boat, there is a bridge there that may limit you, as well as the channel gets somewhat narrow. I would say anything over 25 feet, I would maybe consider what your experience is with the boat. But you can go all the way down there. There's a couple of restaurants right here with this blue awning. We've got bands in the park on Saturdays and Sundays, and then we've also got where that pontoon boat is parked. That is public parking for the city of McHenry. So all that area, those white buildings there, are called incubator stores, and they do a great job. There's a whole community in that area that really lights up on the weekends and on Friday nights. And there's, you can get drinks, music, restaurants. You can park there, and this whole river walk goes right under this bridge. They're finishing up some railings, but this bridge again is Route 120, and you'll go under the second bridge. That's Pearl Street. There's parks, and you can really take advantage of the entire downtown McHenry. And again, free parking, public parking there, as well as at Weber Park, which is just under this second bridge. On the west side, there's a park there. You'll see a lot of people fishing. Again, that's known as Weber Park. You can dock there for free as well, and you can walk to the entire downtown community tied together with this river walk that McHenry has done such a great job with. It just finished this season, so again, nice job. We're now on our third bridge, I think, right? So third bridge, this is Pearl Street. Again, this is still no wake, but not a limiting bridge. There are limiting bridges on the chain. They are not on the lower or the upper river. None of the bridges would limit recreational boating on the lower river or the upper river. It's not until you get into the lakes that you get into the bridges. Another restaurant here, Vicky's, depending on what day of the week it is, it seems to be open or closed or whatever. I haven't been there in decades. It used to be good food. It looks like it's open and has a crowd as of recently. So again, that's a great spot to park because there is, you're in the no wake zone. The other side here, we've got Bimbos, and that parking there is for Bimbos customers. Some of the other side for public parking. We've got After the Fox. You've also got a nice pizza place here downtown. It's one block off. It's called the Foxhole. They just recently reopened. And again, those piers right there on that north side is where I was talking about. You can park there, and that's on right at Weber Park. You can dock there, and you can walk this entire river walk all the way down to, in fact, all the way down to that channel we talked about previously. If you're looking for fuel on the water, this is a great place. Fuel dock, there's normally some helpers out here to pump the fuel. I'm pretty sure this fuel is 24 hours. So after hours, you swipe your card and you can get fuel yourself. But the docks are nicely padded. It's a great, easy place to stop because you're in a no wake zone. And so if you're looking for fuel on the water, on the river, check out Munson on the water. That is a great stop for fuel. So about another 500 feet up, we are going to come out of our no wake area. And from here up into the lakes, you are free to go. The next bridge we're going to talk about is what we call the washing machine in Johnsburg. So we'll zip up there and we'll talk about that next. All right, so we're coming into Johnsburg. This bay right here is the river takes a bend to the right. This used to be set up for like water skiers. They had some buoys out there, so a lot of people know this is like the area that the water skiers would practice, or there would be seaplanes would land in that bay as well. So if you're an old timer on the chain, that's the little bay that the seaplanes would land. Now the one thing different about the upper compared to the lower is there's a lot of seawall. So when you get these waves, there's really nowhere for them to go except for start coming back on top of themselves. So this is the Johnsburg Bridge. Again, not another limiting bridge by height, but this bridge is always, this water is always rough. My family calls it the washing machine because depending on what cycle this thing is, it's always, the water in this area is always rough. So just keep that in mind, that this could be the roughest part of your day is right here. Now this bridge is not a no wake, and you see, well, you'll see plenty of boats do 100 miles an hour through here if you're not paying attention. But again, that is the Johnsburg Bridge. This whole area is Johnsburg, and we're going to come up to the mouth of the river here in a moment. This is the mouth of the river. This is right where the river feeds into all the lakes. For whatever reason, there's always fishermen here. So I don't know if the fish come up the river or what, but there's always fishermen here. The other thing you should note is this island here. So it's very well marked, but every year, in my opinion, just don't even go between the island and the land. It's very shallow. In fact, in the winter, when they draw down the lakes, there's is actually a seawall. At one point, a long, long time ago, there was a house on that island. If you try cutting through, it's ankle-deep water. You will get stuck and you will cause damage, I promise you. If you're trying to get to this side of the island, we're gonna go around this boat being towed. You just make a big loop and go around it. You don't even waste your time going between the island and the shore back there. Now, if you come around the island, you make basically a U-turn like we're doing now, and you go straight in. There's a restaurant back there. It's called the Backyard Bar and Grill. It just recently changed names. It was Cabanas, and then it was the boat. Lake House. And then it was the lake house. But there is a boat launch there. The food is good. It's a nice destination. And while it's not necessarily a no-wake area, you're pretty well hidden back there. That is a great stop for food back there. Coming around the corner here, you've got a couple different things. If you're looking for an area to maybe anchor off and get out of the water, we're going to show you some stuff today. We're not going to go in super depth because it would take 3 hours to drive around and show you everything. But down in, so this is Pistachey Lake we're on. And on the south side of Pistachey Lake, there's a couple bays. If you're out here on a weekend, you'll see the boats. The nice thing about it is the water is nice and deep. So if you're one of those people that doesn't like touching the bottom, that's where you want to go. You can anchor off, kind of do your thing, and mind your business, and just be by yourself a little bit if you want to. If you don't want to do the sandbars, or the sandbars are not your thing. Coming to the dead east side of Pistachey Lake, you've got a few islands out here, and there's a few marinas. We're going to loop around these islands, and we'll show you a couple of restaurants and a couple of places for fuel. You do have the boathouse here. There's gas right there on that corner. Great place, easy to get in and out, easy to get fuel. That's a great place for fuel. Great owners, friendly people. That's a great stop for fuel. We're going to show you a nice spot if you've got kids and you want to tube. And I highly suggest you don't tube on the weekends on the Chain of Lakes of Illinois. Do what you want. If you do tube, you got to have a flag. It's busy out here. If you have to tube, I'm going to show you one little secret spot. The water is generally calm, and you're going to find a nice spot to do it. And so we're heading right now towards the east side of Pistachey Lake. Coming up by land, that'll be Ben Watts, and Route 12 as you head into the town of Fox Lake. So ahead of me, you've got this landmass is actually an island. So dead ahead, that building that you see there, that is Ben Watts. On the north side of Ben Watts, there's actually a Culver's. There's really nowhere to park your boat and go to Culver's. Maybe one day they'll put piers in, but there is a Culver's over there. To my right, this is kind of cool. If you look at these homes, they got water on the backyard, water in the front yard. That's legit. That's island living right there. That is an island. And we're gonna come into this bay, and as we come into this bay, we're gonna go around these islands here. There is a restaurant on the inside of this bay called Famous Freddy's. And Famous Freddy's, great burgers. It's just it's probably one of the few places on the chain that hasn't changed owners in 20 years. You know, there's a handful of staples that are like that. Freddy's is one. It's kind of a no-frills place, but I like it. So we'll show you that. And in here, regardless of what the water is, if it's a windy day or it's busy, generally speaking, you can find a little area in here to do some tubing and kind of do some water sports if you've got kids. This area is generally fairly safe to do something, but obviously your own discretion. If you head straight ahead in that bay, there's a lake called Redhead Lake. There's not a whole lot to offer there. There's mostly private homes, so there's not much to see there. Along this no-wake area on your left, you're going to see a marina back there, and then that is also where you're going to see Famous Freddy's. It's that blue building there, that real bright blue building. That's your Famous Freddy's there.
It's attached to Moretti's.
Oh yeah, and it is attached to a Moretti's as well. So you could park there and get food from Moretti's or Freddy's or whatever. Docking is usually pretty good. Again, it's pretty quiet in here, so that's a great place to make a destination. If you you go down past it, there's a T channel, they call it, back in there. It's just private homes, and that channel runs parallel to Route 12. So on the other side of that tree line, you would find Route 12 as you're heading north into Fox Lake. Right here in front of us, as we turn around, these are the islands I was talking about. We're going to loop around to the left. You're going to see a couple of those areas that we talked about to anchor off. And then if you go around the corner, there's another lake called Lake Geraldine. And that lake is another, it's basically, it's private back there. I mean, it's public to go back, but there's private homes. Not a whole lot to do back there unless you have someone that lives back there or you have a reason to go back there. Not a whole lot to see. It's all no wake. You're not going to do any tubing or anything like that. So we're going to come around this island. It will show you. And you know what? Back in these bays, there's a lot of history. And this would be a great place if you want to search up some Al Capone stuff and look at the houses on these Pistachio Bays. If you want to look at some cool stuff, Pistachio Bay is definitely one of the places to check it out. The sailing club back here, if you want to learn how to sail, they can help you do that. The Channel Lakes, there's a ton to offer. We haven't even really scratched the surface. So we'll loop around here and we'll show you in a second. This first inlet on your left, you don't see a ton of activity in there. On the summer days, you'll get some people anchored out. That's a nice quiet spot. Coming around the second one, we're going to come around the second island here. So we're headed back south, almost the same direction we came up the river. We kind of came up the river and we looped around and we did this. Off to the left, you're going to see that bridge over there. That's going to take you into Lake Geraldine. And again, it's not private, you can go back there, but it's just, you know, it's a lot of no wake, and there's just homes back there. That's what's back there, you're not missing much. Back in this cove back here is where you're going to see the boats anchored out. If it's a Saturday or Sunday, you'll see where to go. You can watch some of these houses. These homes are absolutely beautiful. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hook back right. And again, we've gone around these islands here. And we're going to come out right by the boatyard, the boathouse that we talked about that had fuel. We're going to come out, we're going to be right by them. They're going to be on our left. And we're going to continue back north on Pistachio Lake. And now you're going to come up to your first height limiting bridge, which is Route 12. And there's two ways you can get under Route 12. We'll show you that in a second. All right, so to my right, this building here, that is known as Dockers. I guess, to be fair, that's been another staple. That's been a great restaurant for decades. If you're looking for good food, it's not bad. And you're right at the start of that no-wake zone, so generally speaking, your boat is fairly protected. I have not parked at that place in a long time. The piers used to always be, but again, with the right lines and bumpers, you'll be fine. So right now we're heading north on Pistachio Lake. We're in the no-wake zone, and we're coming up to the Route 12 bridge. So we're basically in Fox Lake. In fact, if you were to dock at Dockers and walk across the street, there's a new coffee shop over there. Highly recommend it. Great people, great owners. It's a great little place. If you're looking for boat parts, Dick's Marine. Those of you who know Dick's Marine, the guy is a legend. He's been around forever. Did a lot of racing, race boats, and raised Doberman dogs. And it was kind of one of those things. Everyone on the chain knew Dick. And if you walked in there and you didn't have your serial number and your model number of your boat or your motor, he wouldn't help you. And at first you're like, man, what is this guy's problem? But you go home with the wrong part because you didn't have the right information. It's on you. So anyway, Dick was a great resource. I actually don't even know if he's still there or not. I know at one point someone else was taking over the business, but that guy is an absolute legend on the chain when it comes to marine parts. So as we move north, we're going to go through Beer Can Bridge. Over there where you've got the boats coming out, they call that Route 12 bridge. They call this Beer Can Bridge. In theory, they're still both Route 12 that you're going under. Now, the Route 12 road itself is not the limiting factor. It's the railroad tracks that are underneath it that are going to limit your height. So know your height before you get under there. Don't hold me to this, and it's about 10 feet. It greatly depends on water height, water levels, and all that kind of stuff. So know your height, but that's gonna be your first limiting bridge. So there are boats that are big, you know, they got big towers and cabins or whatever. If they launch here on south of Route 12, they stay in these lakes. If they launch north of Route 12, they stay in those lakes. The only way around it is to take it out by land and move it around. So you've got two options. You can come up the channel there, or you can come up the channel here. I guess there's three options. Or this area here is an island as well, and you can loop around. They call this marina the 100 Club, also a great spot. Very well secluded for no wake zones and weather and that kind of stuff. So the 100 Club is a great place to slip your boat. There is a launch there as well. And on the west side of the 100 Club, there is a new lobster food truck that I have not been to yet, but I want to, and I've heard nothing but good things. They have boat parking and they have PWC parking, so maybe something to consider. So we are coming up to what's going to be called Beer Can Bridge. You're going to understand why it's called Beer Can Bridge in a minute. This is going to be the shorter side of Route 12. We're just kind of showing you because I want to show you a park on the other side of Beer Can Bridge. Generally speaking, normally we go to the other side, but with the top, either way, we've got to pull this top down, so it's not a big deal. I do want to give a shout out to our friends at Nielsen Enterprises for letting us use this beautiful Manitou pontoon boat. If you're looking for a Manitou, check out this boat or any of their other lineup. It's absolutely beautiful. And Manitou does a really nice job with their pontoons. So Nielsen Enterprises for your next boat. Yamaha, Kawasaki, Sea-Doo, for that matter, they do everything. On-road, off-road, marine. They do the whole power sports thing. So Nielsen's.com. So thanks to Nielsen's for the boat. So we're going to scooch up here to Beer Can Bridge and we'll show you what's next. All right, so we're coming up to Beer Can Bridge. So this is Route 12. If you were heading, this would be on the north side of Fox Lake. Right around the corner, you've got Ray Chevrolet and Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram right here. If you're looking for a Jeep or truck, I highly recommend the Ray Auto Group as well. So we're going to pull this down for obvious reasons. And so now, as you pay attention, you're going to see why they call this Beer Can Bridge. All right, so Beer Can Bridge, you can see why we call it Beer Can Bridge. I don't know, don't be that guy. All this stuff falls in the water and, you know, whatever. But now guys, so now we're in Nippersink Lake, and we're just coming in Nippersink Lake. The other side there, where that pontoon is, that's the west side of the lake. That's where you would come through if you had a taller boat. But this park here is still in the process of being finished. This is going to be one of the only beaches on the chain of lakes, short of one on the lower river. But Fox Lake has absolutely done a phenomenal job. There's a splash pad, there's pickleball courts. Every Friday night they do music in the band shelters here. You get boats all parked out here. There's bike paths, they've got cabana chairs. Where this beach goes in, they're actually going to connect and they're going to make this circle complete, and they're going to put docking piers out here, and the swim area will be in the middle, and this is going to be all, you're going to be able to dock your boat here, and it's just, the Fox Lake really did a nice job here, and they've done a phenomenal job with it. It's and on Fridays the place is packed. Just to the north of that, there's two things we should mention. You've got Jet Fun Rental. This is one of the few places on the chain of lakes that if you want to rent a jet ski or a boat, you can rent them right here from Jet Fun. Now my understanding is if you rent a PWC, you have to stay on this Nippersink Lake. I'm almost positive that's a fact. I know the boats you can leave the vicinity of this lake, PWCs you cannot, but you can rent from Jet Fun Rental. If you are a renter, just please make sure you understand the rules of the navigation. And we see a lot of accidents with people who rent boats because they're unfamiliar with boats, they're unfamiliar with the waterway. So just know what you're doing out here and have a safe time, because there's a lot to see and a lot to do. On the other side of that is a brewery called Black Lung Brewery. You can actually dock your boat right there, have a beverage. The owners of that brewery also have a brewery in Round Lake Beach. Again, another family-owned, great people, great view of the lake, great sunsets. Highly recommend. Nippersink Lake, for the most part, is a pass-through lake in my opinion. This isn't where you're gonna find water skiers. This isn't where you're gonna do your tubing. It might be where you do your jet skiing because you're stuck here because you rented one. But generally speaking, this is kind of you're going through this lake. Back there towards that blue water tower, there is a lake called Dunn's Lake. And there's a channel you gotta kind of know what you're doing to get back in there. And it is a small lake, and there's some residents on that lake. Now that is another lake that's not very well known, but a lot of people use it for the tubing and for water skiing because generally speaking it's quiet. So if you navigate back to Dunn's Lake back there, you kind of find yourself a little space to yourself. So the next thing we're going to come up to is Kamikaze Corner, Kamikaze Alley, and we'll talk about that here in a second as to why they call it Kamikaze Alley. All right, so we're coming up to the edge of Nippersink and Kamikaze Alley. This is El Porto. Good Mexican food, great margaritas. I mean, there's been waves in those piers that are bigger than the Atlantic. So if you're gonna park there, you better have lots of lines, you better have bumpers. And if it's a busy Saturday, just be prepared. It is really tough parking at El Porto. That is the biggest downfall of El Porto, is the water and how rough it can be back there. Do have jet ski ports. I haven't been on them in a while. For what it's worth, they are not the Nielsen Enterprise jet ski ports. And the last time I saw them, they're pretty rough. They likely, just being honest, they likely will scratch up the bottom of your ski. If you care about the bottom of your ski, keep that in mind. But even so, you better tie up your jet ski because it will float away. Coming around this bend is probably one of our favorites. It's called Dinghies. And this was a few other things. It was FAMS last year, and I forget what it was. This is one of those that's been countless things. I think Dinghies is going to be around a while because they have a great reputation. Their food is great. Their piers are phenomenal. They've got their piers dialed in. So highly recommend Dinghies. It's just outside of this no wake zone, but it's generally not bad. So right now we're in Kamikaze Alley, they call it. So we're between Nippersink and Fox Lake. And at one point, this was never a no-wake zone. And the only reason this is a no-wake zone is because on a busy weekend, you got people going north to Grass Lake, you got them going south on Nippersink, you got them going this way to Fox Lake, you got them going this way. And it all ties in here. And so imagine an intersection in downtown Chicago with no traffic lights on a busy Friday afternoon. That's what this looked like. So the reason for the no wake is actually just to minimize the absolute chaos. Around this corner is Mineola Bay. If you follow any Al Capone stuff, we've got the Mineola Hotel down there, which is actually kind of cool to see. I'm not even sure how the thing is still standing anymore, but there's a ton of history with the Mineola and all that, in the hotel and all that, which is right around the bend down there. We're not going to go down there, but that's another area that sometimes is good for your water sports. You can kind of tuck yourself back in there. But Fox Lake has a lot to offer as well. So we'll pass through a few restaurant stops that we'll point out to you. So one thing I want to point out, that is the west side of Fox Lake over there, and that's called like Jet Boat Alley and no boat zone. But a lot of times you'll see boats try to cut through there and cut through over to the Grass Lake channel. You cannot go through there. You cannot. The only place you can come between these lakes here is where we just came from. You cannot navigate through that area over there, so definitely stay away to try and navigate between here and Grass Lake over there. On the southeast corner of Fox Lake down there, you'll see the two navigational buoys, and you can kind of see a marina back there. That's actually Grant High School back there. The two navigational buoys will take you to what I used to call Squaw Creek. Now it has been renamed Manitou Creek, so if you know it either way. So Manitou Creek will take you, there's actually, if you go all the way through, there's a lock that will take you to Long Lake, but it's a mechanical lock that you have to have a key and hoist and chains, and don't waste your time. So, but there is marinas back there for fuel. There's Munson back there, and so you can get fuel, and there's some boat shops back there and that kind of stuff. First restaurant to the north of it here is this little guy here called the beach house. The owner of the beach house owns multiple restaurants in the area. He does a really nice job. And at the beach house, we have drive-on PWC docks sponsored by Nielsen Enterprises, as well as dinghies. So if you're driving a PWC, you can dock at the beach house worry-free, as well as dinghies. You can dock there worry-free. Huge thanks to Nielsen Enterprises. We've got some wave armor docks there. We do obviously have boat docks as well. Keep in mind, on a rough, windy day, if you got a dead wind coming out of the west, it can be rough there, but it's still, generally speaking, that's a pretty good place to dock. As we go to the north, there's another bay here called Stanton Bay, and that's a great bay to do water sports in. Generally speaking, Fox Lake is another one. It can be rougher. Find a corner to do your water sports, but Stanton Bay is also a great location to kind of tuck away and get away, and even if you want to anchor out, that's a great point too. We're gonna come up to the next restaurant here called Fairmont Shores, and there's a few options you got for food at Fairmont Shores and PWC parking. So let's head there next. So again, over there, that's Stanton Bay, great place to do some water sports. So coming up here, you've got Fairmont Shores. It's the building there with the little peak on the roof. They've got absolutely great food, great service. They do a nice job there. The boat parking there is pretty easy. And then you'll also notice there's that barge there, the green and white boat, and that's Barger's Beef. And they have great sandwiches as well. So Fairmont Shores oftentimes gets incredibly busy and the kitchen backs up. So you've got two options, and that's why actually they invited them to. They're permanently docked there. And Fairmont Shores has PWC parking as well, so you can grab a beef, park your PWC there and grab some sandwich and also enjoy the view. So right now we're on the dead east side of Fox Lake as we're gonna come around here, and we're gonna go to the north side and we're gonna show you a great place to anchor out and enjoy the day on a nice sand bottom. So one thing I forgot to mention, there's a lot of confusion when the waterway system goes into a no-wake mode and people don't understand what's upper, what's lower, what's lakes. So we talked about earlier the lower river being anything from Algonquin to McHenry. So right where we started out the video at the dam, that south of that is the lower river. From the dam to where those fishermen were, and I said there's always people fishing here at the mouth of the river, that is the upper. So when the lower river goes no wake or even closes, if you're north of the dam, north of the locks, that doesn't pertain to you. If the upper river goes no wake or closes, it's from the dam to the mouth of the river. When the lakes go no wake or close, it's from the mouth of the river north, all of the lakes. So we're probably not going to do all of them today, but even up into Catherine, all the way pretty much to the Wisconsin border. So you're broke down into three zones: the lower, the upper, and the lakes. So it hopefully helps you understand when these things go no wake, if that pertains to where you want to boat at that time. There's plenty of times where the lower may be no wake or even closed, and the lakes are open for full boating, because what happens is all the water comes from New Munster, Wisconsin, and it flows down. Well, it flows down fast, but it's getting funneled into a tiny little funnel. So the river can't shed the water as fast as the lakes can, basically. So basically it rolls downhill, and it takes longer for the lakes to come back to normal, or the river to come back to normal, than the lakes do. So just wanted to explain that. So to my dead north of me, we've got a restaurant called Electric Harbor. Electric Harbor has been around forever. Again, another marina. You can launch there. Keep in mind, you can also launch at that beach. Many of these restaurants we talked about, most all of them have launches. Electric Harbor has great food. They got great burger specials. They do a really nice job. Electric Harbor and Captain's Quarters are owned by the same people. Both great restaurants. Now, Captain's Quarters is going to be just on the west side of Fox Lake, and we also have PWC parking there. And they've just redone all of their parking, their whole playground area. They do a lot of great events. There's a huge playground for your kids. Parking is really nice and easy back there because you're in a no-wake channel. So you're nice and secluded. And again, we have PWC docks. But Captain's Quarters is a great place. It's on the dead west side of Fox Lake, just south of the entrance to Pistaki, which we're going to go into in a minute. Now on the far north side of Fox Lake, you're gonna see a few boats anchored out here. And it's a fairly, I say sandy, for the chain of lakes. You can stand in it and not feel disgusted, I guess you could say. But on a weekend, you know, on a busy Saturday, this will all be lined with boats. They all back in. People bring their grills, they put tables out. They got water games, and the one cool thing about most of all these sandbars on the water is everyone's really inviting. You know, we were randomly there, and they were cooking up brats and burgers, and my whole family had lunch with random people I've never met before. And that's the beauty of the chain of lakes, is you meet some of your best friends. But this area right here, you can actually see that pontoon boat back there. They're in waist deep water, and it's actually a pretty nice bottom right there. But this whole, from basically that channel over here, it will line up with boats on a busy Saturday, and that's a great destination if you want to hang out. The next sandbar we're going to talk about is probably more of a, I would say this is G to PG-13. The next one I would say is maybe R to adult content sometimes, depending on the weekend. So currently we are headed north into Petite Lake. So we're at the northwest corner of Fox Lake. You got Captain's Quarters right around the corner there. This is actually a peninsula. There's actually a channel that runs right back there. There's some houses back there, and then it'll dump out right about halfway through this channel. Petite Lake is a great lake for the sandbar. In my personal opinion, it's not where I would hang out if I had kids or whatever. That's to your discretion. It's the drinking sandbar, loud music, everyone fighting over who's got the louder speaker system, and hundreds of boats tie up. It's a good time. I've been there, done that. I'm just at a different point, I guess. This is not a lake that I would suggest tubing on. It's small. I would treat the center lane is like literally like lane. You've got off to your right. You've got the sandbar, and then you've got traffic. This, in my opinion, is not where you want to do your water sports on a weekend. During the week, it's a different story. And the other thing I should mention, don't pull your tubers through channels and stuff. It's just not safe. So flag up, just be mindful when you're doing the water sports stuff on the chain. There's a time and place for it all, and make sure you're just doing it safely. All right, so here we're coming into one of the first channels here. So this is gonna take you into Spring Lake, which again, I'm not sure why they call it a lake, and you'll see why I say that in a few minutes. So this is, at this point, if you're gonna continue the loop of the entire lakes, at this point you are locked in for probably another 20 minutes at best to loop back through and come out up in Bluff Lake and then make your finished loop and come back through Grass Lake. But if you're gonna do the whole loop, you got to do the long channel. It's on a nice summer busy day. There's a lot of camaraderie. It's a lot of fun, especially if you've got kids. Back in the day, everyone used to have these squirt guns, and I don't know if they became illegal, but now it was a battle of squirt guns. They've kind of been tamed down a little bit. So
We still do that all the time.
You still see them, but not like they were in the past. To be fair, I think now you see them, people ask. They're like, "Can I squirt you?" Before, there was no asking. It was, you're on your phone and you took a squirt gun to the face. And when I say squirt gun, it's like a fire hose. So this is coming into Spring Lake, and well, you can kind of see why I think it really shouldn't be called the lake, but it is. So now we are in Spring Lake. So here we are coming through the long channel just under 173 bridge. This is a ton of fun. Definitely want to check it out. Don't miss Fred the Peeing Bear as you travel through. About a 15-minute ride through here, but the kids and family will definitely enjoy the long channel. And immediately to my left, there's a restaurant called Sunset Grill. This is probably, aside from dinghies, this is probably one of my favorites. The food is great, and truly the sunset view from there is phenomenal. The parking is good. It's kind of tucked off in that corner a little bit. Not to say it's no wake, but right there they've got a lot of good parking, great food, and they're under new owners. I've not been there since the owners are new, but everything else, I understand, is going to stay the same. So right there with the big American flag, you've got Sunset Grill. So when you come out on a Bluff Lake, it's going to be immediately to your left. Bluff Lake's another just kind of quick one. There's a lot of nice houses out here. To the left over there, you've got Stites'. That's like a supper club. I have not been to Stites in probably 25 plus years. They used to have a toboggan run, and I'm not sure if they still do or not, but the food was always phenomenal. So it's kind of another one of those places that's just been here forever. So this is a quick run, literally right across the lake, and then we're gonna go into Lake Marie. All right, so we just came across Bluff Lake. You can literally see right across the other markers. Short, quick one. This is another quick no-wake one here, and we're gonna come out on a Lake Marie. Now, if you come out on Lake Marie and you kind of hang an immediate right, there's a restaurant called Sandbar and Grill. Another location where we do have some Nielsen Enterprises owned PWC parking. They do a great job. The owners there are great people. They do a nice job. The food's good, parking's good. And they even have an event in late September, early October with some boat races. And check out their social media for that, because it's a worthwhile. They actually get Lake Marie, for the most part, closed to no wake for this race that they've done. They're going on their second year now, and it's worth checking out. It's a ton of fun. So Lake Marie, and then there's some other stuff on Lake Marie. Lake Marie also has if you were to hug this shoreline to the right and go around the bend, there are some townhomes against the backside, the northeast corner. Also another great place for a family-friendly sandbar. Great location. The whole back corner is pretty nice. But we'll swoop through and we'll show you what the sandbar looks like. All right, so right here on your right, you've got some nice parking. There's a lot of parking here. There's a little beach area, and this is called the Sandbar. Again, you're gonna wanna check them out. So now we're up towards Antioch. You're gonna wanna check them out for sure. And we do have PWC parking here. There is a nice launch here, and then we've also got they've also got gas here. So even if you're on your PWC, you can park and get gas right from the PWC docks. So that's nice for the PWC owners. The other thing I should mention, so there's 3 PWC docks, and they're right behind the gas pier. If those for whatever reason are full, the Sandbar owns all this land, so you could actually park anywhere along this, and it's all actually really nice sand bottom. You could pull right up to the shore here. Sandbar owns all that, and they've suggested we can use it for parking if you are there and the PWC docks are full. So this is Lake Marie. Again, nice lake. If you follow this edge around and you hook up to the right around that point, the lake opens up again, and you have a nice sandbar that's a sandy bottom area. That's a nice area to back up to for hanging out for the day. All right, so we've just come around the bend here. We're pointed due north, and those are the townhomes I was talking about, right against the cattails, and between the cattails and that open land. That's a great area. You can back in. There's some great sand bottom there. If you look off to the left, which is to the west, you're probably not going to see it. There's a little house that looks like an old like riverboat, like a paddle boat. That's the channel that's going to take you to Channel Lake and Lake Catherine. Now, when you come out of that channel, we're not going to do that today on this video just for time's sake, but when you come out of that channel and you head to the right or dead north, you will dead end directly into a really, really nice sandbar. And there's also the Thirsty Turtle. They have a little beach area, and they've got a nice band shell area, and that is when you come out of that channel, almost directly across, a little to the left. But those lakes are really nice. You are going to come under Route 173, so that is a limiting bridge. That bridge is shorter than Grass Lake Bridge, so if you're tight on Grass Lake Bridge, you're not going to make it under 173. Well, the one nice thing about it is it does kind of keep some of the big boats out of that lake, and this is that's kind of the most northern point of where the water comes in. So for whatever reason, that sandbar just seems to be a little cleaner, just because everything kind of flows down. Keep in mind the chains actually, everyone's like, oh, it's dirty, it's this. If you're ever out here in the winter when the drawdown and there's no boats, you'd be surprised how far down into the water. You probably see 3 or 4 feet into the water. It's just that we have 100,000 boats every weekend stirring it all up. But great destination up on those 2 lakes as well. There's a bay you can do some water sports in. Highly recommend it if you're looking to go spend the day up there. But right now we've kind of looped around. Where we came in originally was right over to our left. So now we're gonna head south here, and we're gonna take the channel back to Grass Lake, and we're ultimately going to loop around, and once you come through Grass Lake, we're going to end up right by that Kamikaze channel that we started out at when we went into Fox Lake. So we'll show you what Grass Lake has to offer next. We're just coming off of Lake Marie and onto Grass Lake. So this is about a, I don't know, 7 to 8 minute channel probably by the time you go through, and we'll end up on the very northeast side of Grass Lake when we come out. All right, so we're coming out of the channel into Grass Lake. So again, we are on the very north, I mean, guys, kind of the center of Grass Lake, really. So Grass Lake's a little unique in that it is very shallow. So if you don't know where you're going in Grass Lake, here's what I would highly suggest. Down the center line of Grass Lake are white buoys, white and orange buoys, and you'll see them. Treat that as if it was the double yellow line on a highway or on your road. And if you're going south, stay to the right. If you're coming north, stay to the stay to the right. But so you treat that as your center line. That's kind of your traffic area. And if you pay attention on Grass Lake, for the most part, you're going to see that's where your general lanes of traffic go. You start getting off into here, that's dangerous. You know, you start getting off towards the edges. If you don't know where you're going, you don't know the depth of what you're doing, you can get yourself into some trouble. The one major destination on Grass Lake is Blarney Island. So really, Grass Lake is not where you're gonna see people tubing. You're not gonna see water sports, and I don't recommend it for obvious reasons that we just talked about. Now, as you come into this lake, you'll see Blarney on the right, and they do have marked channels that you can go into, but keep in mind they have a water shuttle that goes back and forth from the Port of Blarney to Blarney Island. So you're gonna wanna stay out of that boat's way. But as you get closer to the island, if you kind of stay on this path of these lanes and then make your 90-degree over when you see the island, you're generally gonna be pretty safe. Just be cognizant of the shallow water. Blarney Island's been around for over 100 years, and they've been doing boat races for over 100 years. So every Thursday night they've got boat races. They actually shut down a portion of Blarney, of the waterway there, and you can dock your boat, you can anchor out, and you can watch the boat races. And it's a ton of fun. You got boats that are doing 200 miles an hour and 800 feet. If you've never been, it's worth checking out. It's literally a bar that's basically built on stilts out there. And they've done a lot of work to it. It's changed over the years, but if you've never been, it's definitely a destination to go check out. Now, the other thing we should mention is you're gonna probably hard to see with the sun, but you've got a fishing boat going around the corner. So if you were to follow this around the corner there, that's where the Fox River continues again. Now, some people think that's the upper river. That's not technically the upper river by definition, but there is a boat launch back there on the Fox River at the Chain of Lakes State Park, and it's free to launch there. So if you want to come to the northern side of the lakes and you're coming from the Wisconsin area, the Chain of Lakes State Park is a great place to launch your boat because it's free. You got a couple minute no wake ride, and you come out and you're right here behind Blarney Island. But again, as you can see what I'm doing, I'm just following straight down these lines. I've got these, I guess they're more red and white bumpers to my left. And if you're coming the other way, you're just gonna stay to the opposite side. Up ahead, you have a blue and white striped building, and there's a boat launch there slash bar restaurant called the Mutiny. Another one that's been around for decades. You can launch at the Mutiny. In fact, that's where a lot of the boat racers will launch and tow their boats or drive them over to Blarney Island over here. Blarney Island's got great music, great bands, all that kind of stuff. It's worth the check out if you've never been. But there's also the Port of Blarney, and so we'll tell you how to get to the port. If you don't have a boat, you can park at the port, hop on the shuttle boat, and they will bring you out to Blarney Island so you can enjoy the day out there. Again, Grass Lake, you're going to Blarney Island, or you're cutting through here, you're going to Krabby J's. Unless you live on it and you know where you're going, different story. But if you don't know where you're going, just stay within reason of these markers. And we're gonna head back now. We're gonna head under Grass Lake Bridge again. This is just a different portion of Grass Lake of the roadway. This is not a limiting bridge. Again, if you're limited here, you have a boat that is too large for the waterway. So that is a boat. They're hauling garbage from the island. Those are 2 dumpsters. So whatever you bring out to the island comes back, and that's everything from the sewage to the garbage to the food that goes out. It all comes out and comes in on barges. Even the fuel to run the generators while they're out there comes in on barges. So everything comes and goes on those barges. So kind of a cool little thing. The No Wake Bridge here, this is Grass Lake Road, and this is another No Wake. Now just on the south side of this No Wake, or this bridge I should say, if you look to the left, you'll see that orange and yellow sign with an arrow. So that channel is where you would go if you want to park at the Port of Blarney. Now, one thing I should mention about the port is open 7 days a week for breakfast all the way through dinner, 7 days a week. The island is open Wednesday to Sunday, and it opens, I believe, starting at 11 on Saturdays and Sundays, and during the week I think it starts at 3. They've got great food out there, but if you're looking for food, you can go to the port. The other thing we should mention is right behind us where it says Original Light Beer. If you pull up to those docks there is 24/7 fuel there. So if you're looking for fuel 24/7, it is there, it is available. There are very few places on the chain that you can get fuel after hours. That is one of them, so keep that in mind. That is definitely one to know. So we are just going under Grass Lake Bridge. Again, to your left is the channel for the Port of Blarney. And now where we're coming up into is we've made our complete circle now. So if you look to the left, you're gonna see this channel. It looks like you could cut across and cruise right into Fox Lake. That is very, 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 very shallow. You cannot safely cut through there. Even on a, people think jet boats, so I can just skim through there. It is illegal to go through there. You cannot go through there, and you will likely just churn up a bunch of mud and cause some damage to your watercraft or your boat. So stay away from that. Just keep following straight. Again, it's marked, but to be fair, some of those same bumpers look a lot like no wake buoys versus no boating buoys. So pay attention and definitely know your buoys, but to your left you cannot go. Off to the right here, the reason this is all blocked off is the Fox Waterway Agency is actually dredging in here. They're dredging some of those channels, and the Fox Waterway Agency, they do a great job with all the waterway. It would cost them something about like $1 billion to completely dredge the whole system, and your Chain of Lake sticker charge costs like $120, so keep that in mind. They're working off a shoestring budget, and they do a great job pulling out debris and making the Chain of Lakes a great place for recreational boating. But they've got they've got 700 and some miles of shoreline, so just do that math. All right, so we're coming out of this no wake. What we're gonna come up to is we've made our complete circle. To our left is Fox Lake we just talked about, and we're gonna come up to the north side of that Kamikaze Alley. So previously we came around the corner from El Puertos and we hung a right, we went east. Now we're gonna come back from the north side of Kamikaze Alley, and we've made our complete circle back to Nippersink. And if we head back south, that'd be Route 12, and we can make our way back down to the Fox Waterway, or the Fox River that we came up on. So directly ahead, that blue building is near the restaurant Dingy's we talked about. So that's where we are going to complete our full circle. Hey guys, thanks for watching. You got the quick and dirty tour of 95% of the lakes, everything except for Channel and Catherine, as well as the upper river. Follow our content. We're going to show you how to go through the locks and how to manage the lower river on another video. But be sure to check out the Chain of Lakes in Northern Illinois, surrounded by Fox Lake, Lake Villa, Antioch, this whole area, Johnsburg, McHenry. It's a great destination, great place to be. As always, give us a like, subscribe, and let us know you'd like to see on the next video. We'll see you on the water.